I have stood before this door longer than I have known my own name. I do not remember the first day I was assigned here, only that the door was already closed when I arrived, and that it has never opened since. It is taller than a city hab block, wide enough to swallow a procession of tanks, and forged from metals whose names were never spoken to me. There is no handle. No seal I can see. No mark to explain its purpose. And yet I was told, with absolute certainty, that if this door were ever to open, my life would already be forfeit. Not because I failed, but because my duty would be complete. I was not told what lies beyond it. I was not told why it must remain closed. I was only told to stand here, to watch, and to never, under any circumstance, ask the question that burns behind my eyes every waking moment. I once believed this post was an honor. They told us so when they took us from the lower habs, from manufactorums, from pilgrim lines that stretched for kilometers beneath the shadow of the Imperial Palace. They said we had been chosen. Not for greatness, but for proximity to it. I was young then, young enough to believe that holiness would feel warm, that serving at the heart of the Imperium would mean being seen. The journey to Terra stripped those illusions away piece by piece. We traveled in silence, herded through corridors that grew larger and colder the deeper we went, until even our footsteps felt like an intrusion. By the time I first saw the palace from within, its endless walls, its impossible vaults, its ceilings lost in shadow, I understood something without being told: this place was not built for men. It was built for eternity. They took my name before they gave me my assignment. No ceremony, no record, no farewell. A scribe marked a symbol beside my designation and waved me onward. I was issued robes, nutrient rations, and a single instruction slate that displayed only 3 directives: remain at your post, observe in silence, and obey the custodians without hesitation. No explanation followed. None was expected. When I was finally brought before the door, the one I now guard, no one introduced it, no one explained its significance. A custodian stood beside it, golden and unmoving, like a statue carved from the will of the emperor himself. He did not look at me when he spoke. "Stand here," he said. "You will be relieved when you are no longer required." Then he walked away, and I was alone with the door, and with the understanding that relief did not mean rest, it meant replacement. The door was already ancient when I was assigned to it. That much I understood without being told. Its surface was smooth but not polished, scarred by time rather than damage, as though history itself had worn against it and failed to leave a mark. I was positioned exactly 7 steps away from it, no closer, no farther. The floor beneath my feet bore faint grooves, not from machinery, but from people, others like me, who had stood here long before my arrival. There were no mechanisms visible, no control panels, no sigils that explained its function. Only a seam, so precise it could only be seen when the light struck it just right. My instructions were absolute in their simplicity: do not touch the door, do not leave your position, and do not acknowledge anyone unless spoken to by a custodian. I learned quickly that simplicity did not mean ease. The silence pressed in on me like weight. Every sound, my breath, the faint hum of distant machinery, the echo of my own heartbeat, felt amplified. I began to understand that the door was not merely something I guarded. It was something I existed in relation to. My purpose was defined not by action, but by denial. Nothing must happen here. Nothing ever does. Time unraveled slowly. At first, I marked the days by the rhythm of my rations, by the arrival of relief thralls who would stand behind me during sanctioned rest cycles. Then the days blurred, and the cycles stretched into something shapeless. I stopped counting. The palace does not age you gently. Muscles stiffen from stillness. Thoughts begin to circle the same ideas, again and again, until they lose meaning. Thralls would disappear without notice. One day they would be there, the next day gone, their position filled by someone new with the same hollow eyes I remembered from my own arrival. No one asked where they went. Bodies were removed with efficiency, not reverence. I learned that death here was not an event. It was maintenance. I forgot my age. I forgot the sound of my mother's voice. Eventually, I forgot her face. The only thing that remained sharp in my mind was the door. Its presence anchored me. Without it, I think I would have drifted apart entirely. The custodians came and went like living omens. You never heard them approach until they were already there. Their armor reflected the light in ways that hurt to look at for too long, not because it was bright, but because it was perfect. They were not like space marines. They were something older, something closer to intention than flesh. When they passed, I was not acknowledged. I might as well have been part of the wall. Once, only once, a custodian stopped before the door. He stood motionless for a long time, long enough that my legs began to tremble. I felt certain that something monumental was about to occur. That the door would open. That I would finally learn what justified its existence, and mine. But nothing happened. The custodian turned his helm slightly, just enough that I knew he was looking at me. I felt examined down to my thoughts, my doubts laid bare. Then he turned away and left. I understood then that whatever lay beyond the door was not meant for me, not even in death. Doubt is a dangerous thing in the palace. It creeps in during the long stretches of nothing, when faith is all that fills the space where meaning should be. I began to wonder whether the door protected something precious, or something catastrophic. Whether it was meant to keep others out, or to keep something in. The Emperor does not speak. Everyone knows this, though no one says it aloud. His presence is felt, but never heard. Faith fills the silence where answers should be. One day, a newly assigned thrall stood beside me during rotation. His hands trembled. After hours of silence, he whispered, barely audible, "Do you think it will ever open?" I did not answer. I could not. The next day, he was gone. His position filled by someone else. That was when I learned the true rule of this place: questions are louder than screams. Eventually, I stopped thinking of myself as a man standing guard. I was a function. A fixture. I trained my replacement without words, simply by standing, by enduring. He watched me the way I once watched others, learning not what to do, but how to be absent. I could feel my body failing long before it finally did. Pain became constant, then irrelevant. The door remained unchanged. As my vision dimmed, I understood the final truth of my duty. I was not here to guard the door from others. I was here to guard the Imperium from the need to open it. When I fall, another will take my place. He will stand 7 steps away. He will be told nothing. And the door will remain closed, as it always has, because it must. I can feel the moment approaching now, though no one has told me it is near. The palace does not announce endings. It simply continues, and those who cannot keep pace are quietly removed from its rhythm. My hands no longer tremble when I stand. They barely move at all. The pain that once reminded me I was still alive has faded into a distant pressure, like something happening to someone else. I watch the door as I always have. It has not changed. It does not age. It does not acknowledge the centuries that grind men into dust at its feet. If it knows I am dying, it gives no sign. Perhaps that is its greatest lesson, that eternity does not notice the passing of those who serve it. I no longer wonder what lies beyond the door. Not because the question has been answered, but because it has lost its power over me. Curiosity is a luxury of those who expect tomorrow to be different from today. Here, tomorrow is only repetition. The Emperor remains silent. The custodians still pass, their presence heavy and unquestioned. Somewhere far above, wars are fought in his name. Empires rise, worlds burn, and histories are written that will never mention the man who stood watch before an unopened door. I understand now that this is not cruelty. It is design. The Imperium does not remember individuals. It remembers functions. When I fall, there will be no ceremony. My body will be taken away as so many others have been, and the floor will be cleaned until no trace of me remains. Another will step forward, standing exactly where I once stood, 7 steps from the door. He will feel the same fear, the same weight, the same quiet certainty that his life has already been spent. He will believe, as I once did, that his duty means something because it is close to the Emperor. In time, he will learn the truth. Meaning here does not come from understanding. It comes from endurance. The door will remain closed. It always has. It always will. Not because of me, or the one who comes after, but because the Imperium needs it to be so. Faith demands mysteries. Power demands silence. And so I stand here, at the edge of my final watch, knowing that when my eyes close, nothing will change. The palace will endure. The door will endure. And somewhere in that unbroken stillness, my duty will finally be complete.